Hey there, today I'll be sharing with you a photo critique that I did recently for a photographer called Harrison Ridley. Harrison's details, all of his socials are down in the description below. Please do go and give him a follow along. Harrison has an abundance of fantastic wildlife, urban and landscape shots, and he submitted a portfolio with equal measure of each of those genres through to me to critique. So let's get straight into it. Start off with our first shot, which is this beautiful monarch butterfly. This is shot at 45mm and it's shot at f2.8, and we got some lovely detail just here. You can see the legs here, but you can see just how quickly that depth of field has fell off. So you've got the front of the leg here is lacking any clarity. This middle section here has got all the clarity on it, and here, but by the time we hit the body, so we've got the tips of the wings, lovely detail just in here, but by the time we get to the body, we have dropped off that clarity. You can see here isn't quite sharp enough, isn't quite got the clarity, hasn't quite got the clarity that we'd be looking for. So f2.8, I think a stop down to f4, I think would have got you what you wanted there, because you clearly focused around this area here, around the edges of the wings, and I think that f4 would have just pushed that depth of field just ever so slightly back, so we could get its head in good focus as well. And we've got another fantastic capture with our puffin portrait here. These are, this is absolutely fantastic. Look at that. This is just a real marvel. So beautifully captured, real clarity, and kind of makes you realize just what a capable camera these GX9s are. That's a great job, really well done. And our next shot is puffing on a cliff. Say what you see, I suppose. Now, again, look, this is fantastic. We've got, again, just brilliant focus, brilliant clarity. Look at that, all of that fantastic detail. All I would say with this one is, because we've had the last one, because we just had our puffin portrait, I would say in terms of the two shots alongside each other in a portfolio, maybe this could be more of an environmental portrait. Maybe we could close down our aperture a little bit, get a little bit more background texture, maybe see a little bit more of the environment that the puffin is stood within. And I'm only saying that in conjunction with this shot here. We've got this fantastic portrait. With this one, perhaps we could just see a little bit more of its environment. But that's not to say that it's not a good shot. It's just a suggestion for, as you're building up your portfolio, your bank of images, think about different ways in which you can capture your subjects. And because you've got that portrait, I said with this one, potentially the opportunity to capture it more as a environmental portrait, add a little bit of depth of field and really see what's going on in the background, a little bit more around the puffin to see what's going on. This actually is what I was talking about a little bit on the puffin shot then, is environmental portrait. This is really nitpicking, and I know from doing it myself that when you're doing any kind of like bird photography, wildlife photography, you're often working with fleeting moments, fleeting chances. But if you'd have just stood up just a slight bit more, you'd have got a bit of clearance between the head and the bridge there, and I think that would have benefited the image. The image feels like it's on a slant as well, but I think if we just slightly tilt it, you'll see as well that it definitely was on a slant. One last other thing, I suppose, on the processing side is you've got the potential here to just lift, and this is very quickly done, but just lift the exposure a little bit on your subject, and you'll see there before and after, just enhancing, not overly doing it, just enhancing the subject a little bit, just so it pops a little bit out of the image. But I mean, these are all small, tiny little things. Now, if like Harrison, you'd like your own critique doing for your own portfolio, the links for that are down in the description below. You don't have to share it here on YouTube, but there's a bit of a discount for you as an incentive to do so, because let's face it, we can all learn something from other people's photographs. There's a lot to like about this shot. In fact, I really like this shot. But what I would talk about on this one is real estate within our photographs. So something like heather, like we've got here, is quite compelling. It gives us a sense of time. We can pretty much gather that this is August into maybe the very early September. Fantastic to capture that, add something absolutely to the frame. But if you look at the split of how much heather we have in this frame, it actually feels like an awful lot. And what the heather then becomes, because it's taking up a good 40 to 45% of the frame, this part of the frame here, we've got an awful lot of the frame which is just heather, and you wouldn't go and take that shot by itself. And because of that, this almost becomes the subject matter. This becomes, oh, that's a nice shot of some heather. Actually, the frame is somewhere up here, and we've got, and let's just, a little bit of crop in here, and we've got now a really stunning shot of the mountain range. This is absolutely beautiful. And look, we've still got the heather in there. We've still got the story of what the heather is telling us, the time. We've still got those colours. We've still got everything that we need from that heather. But because we just trimmed it back, we've made it less of the focal point and more of a foreground to what is actually a stunning capture over in the midground and the background over there. How much of your photograph are you lending over to a certain subject, and is that what you thought was important when you captured it? The heather is certainly adding to the frame, but it isn't the subject matter for the frame. And I think with that in mind, we can just trim that out a little bit. And if we look at that now full screen, I mean, that's just an epic view. And now just click reset on that, you'll notice all of this part of the frame isn't really adding anything to it. Last light on Coney Mountain. I know exactly where the problem with this shot is, where you can see it a mile out. You see the difference between the colour of the heather in this shot here, with the light hitting it, and the colour of the heather in this shot here without any light hitting it is very, very different. And what happens when we are facing into the light like this, and we're not actually, the light's going down here, we're not getting any light into this area here, and you can see it's just smudgy and horrid, and the colours aren't particularly great. Everything just looks a little bit off, and I guess you would have been kind of compelled by the idea of the sun star coming across here. Maybe a bracketed image. If you were on a tripod, you tried bracketing here and expose for the shadows, the highlights, and the mid-tones, and being able to put something together out of that. But as it is, you've underexposed it in order to try and get that sun star and some of the detail in the sky. By doing that, you had to lift all of the exposure in this foreground, and actually there's no light hitting it. And that's what causes the problem. That's what causes us to have issues with noise, issues with lack of detail, and issues with clarity in our photography. Autumn in the Gwydr Forest, and you can see here we're at 100 millimeters, 1/80th of a second, and the image suffers from it. We got a complete lack of clarity. You can see this is a shaky image, and that is the shutter speed. And then we've also got these distracting, and these are birds, but because of that shutter speed, and this is the first one, I think, potentially the monarch butterfly, but this is the first one in this critique where we've really talked about technicals being the downfall of an image. 1/80th of a second wasn't a fast enough shutter speed for the lens that you were using, the focal length that you were at, and for these birds flying across, clone these out would be the starting point for this image. And compositionally, again, we're talking about real estate. We've got an awful lot of frame dedicated to blank space. I think your story in this, and if you work in this area, this is definitely a place, you know, I'm sure you would shoot in again, but your story in this is down here, probably a bit wider than that, but this little bit of road going through here, I think there's a lot of opportunity in that to make that into something. We've got these beautiful colours, we've got the mist coming across here, and this is a frame, so there's definitely something here. And we've got California Street. This is in San Francisco, so it's not in California Street in San Francisco. As I looked at it for the first time, it just felt distorted. You can see that this building isn't straight. You'll see that it bends in quite a lot. So we've got that straight, and it's now bending in at the top. You can see it over on the left-hand side as well. So if we pop that into the top left corner, bring that down, the building comes out, it's bulging out. We've got it on the right-hand side as well. You can see it on, if I bring this over here, you see the gap at the top just there. I would also just have this tram line in the middle. Again, just a little bit OCD me. And I guess that you were going for that in the middle and try and line them up on a street that's got cars and potentially trams coming down it. It's quite difficult, so completely get it. But again, just look at that distortion. We're on that 25mm lens again, so we know that it suffers with that distortion. But again, if we just pull that in, it would be worth looking into whether whatever processing tools you have the correct lens corrections on them, or make sure you've got your lens corrections turned on in camera. Okay, next we've got Manhattan Bridge. We've got some beautiful detail there. This is the Empire State Building. We're at f4, but we're at 15mm, so, you know, other than this bit down here, we've got good depth of field throughout. You know, you're never going to get perfect clarity over in the background anyway, because we're going through too much city haze. With this frame, again, just look, we've got that bit of distortion on the buildings, but we've already covered that. I'm not going to go through it again. I'm just going to brighten it up just a little bit, just so we can see. As you've got down low to get this grid in, and I think that adds a nice little foreground touch. Could we have pulled it back a little bit and got the N in there? So we've got NYC. That is extremely subjective. Some people wouldn't care. If I'm saying what would I do to improve it, I'm going to get in that locality. If I'm going to get the YC, I'm going to get the N into it as well. I think it's really nice. It is a cliche, but it's classic for a reason, and that's because it's a good frame. Last up, we've got Water Tower on 10th. This is in NYC. I really, really like this. I think there's a lot to like about this frame. I think the inclusion of these street signs here, fantastic, gives it a sense of place, which I really like. A couple of things, tiny bits, but this is unnecessary distraction. This, what looks like a wire hanging down there. Might take a few minutes, but I'd get rid of that. I'd just clone that out. Again, with this lamp post here, I just wonder whether if you got rid of that, would it be missed? And, you know, we could still keep the signs in, get rid of this post, this yellow bit down at the bottom. Again, would it be missed if we got rid of it? Let's do that. Just clean up, tidy up that frame just a little bit in order to make sure all of our focus and all of our attention is on the parts that are important, which is, you know, some lovely angles here. And I think this is really, really compelling. That was a great set from Harrison. As I say, if you liked what you've seen, please do go and give him a little follow down via the links in the description below. I'm sure he'll be appreciative of that. And a big thank you to you, Harrison, for allowing us to share this and for us all to take a look at your work and hopefully pick up some tips from looking at it. I've been Dave, and this has been Let's Click Photography, and I will see you guys on the next one pretty damn soon.